Welcome to video 1 of Social Brilliant. I'm Laura Roeder, and we're starting off the first video with brilliant blog posts. So I thought this was a social media course. Why are we starting off with blog posts? It's because a successful social media strategy starts with your blog. I think the reason a lot of people are confused about social media is they're bypassing the blog. They're going right into the social networks, but you've actually kind of cut yourself off at the beginning right there if you're not starting with your blog first, because people share links to great content. So if you want to drum up social media activity, you must blog. You must create your own great content. No one's going to share a link to a static brochure website on Twitter, right? People share great blog posts all the time. That's kind of what social media is made up of. But it's very unusual that someone is going to share the link to your about page or your services page or your contact page just because they love you so much. But they will share the link to your blog over and over again. So I'm talking about a blog, but of course, the word blog doesn't really encompass all the different types of content that are out there now. So there are online video shows, there are podcasts, you can make graphics, infographics. So there's lots of different types of content, but all of these things should live in your blog. So even if you don't have any articles, most of us are going to be writing text or going to be writing blog posts. But even if you're not writing any text, maybe you're doing podcast, video, whatever, I'm still going to call it your blog. So know what I'm talking about here. It can really be any kind of content. But that blog needs to live on your site. That content needs to live on your site. That's because we want to drive people to your site where they can buy from you. We don't want to drive them to iTunes or YouTube. So these are going to be fast videos. There's a lot of really important nuggets along the way. This is one of them. This is one of those small things that's a huge social media mistake. I see people sending people to youtube.com to go to their video, or sending them to an iTunes landing page to go to their podcast, or sending them somewhere that an infographic is hosted instead of having that content embedded on their blog. Don't send people to YouTube. Embed your YouTube video on your blog and send people to your blog, because that's where the commerce happens. So I have this kind of whole system laid out in this handy dandy chart right here. So what you see on the left is your website, right? So your website has your blog in it. It also has other pages like your purchase page, maybe your email list page, your offerings. And then we see social media status updates there over to the right. So your social media status updates should be driving people to your blog. Maybe sometimes you link to these other pages as well, but mostly you're driving people to your blog. And then from your blog, they're clicking over to the purchase page, they're clicking over to the email list, they're clicking over to your offerings, contact page, whatever it is for your business. That can't happen if you're sending them to YouTube. They can't get to your contact page directly from a video on YouTube. So you always want to host all of your content on your own blog, and you always want to link to your content back to your own blog. So what is the purpose of blogging? Your blog expresses the point of view, the values, the personality, and the philosophy of your business. People get to know you through your blog. This is how people find out what your business is all about, right? So your blog should show who you are, and your blog should appeal to your customers. Notice that I say customers. I do not say that your blog should appeal to your industry. I do not say that your blog should appeal to your peers or even your fans, because this is not a social media for fun course. This is a social media for business course. All of the social media strategy that I'm talking about is designed to drive sales and engagement and leads to your business. So when you're thinking about what to blog about, you want to think, what would your customers enjoy? What do your customers want to read about? What's going to bring them closer to the sale? And again, your blog lives on your website where your sales process begins, or maybe that's where your sales process ends if you have an e-commerce site. So a huge, huge, huge purpose of blogging is driving that traffic to your site so that people can give you their email address or maybe even buy something from you. So, next $1,000,000 question about blogging: what to blog about? What should you write about on your blog? So I want to tell you we have a great resource for this in the planning tools section, but I wanted to go over a few brief bullet points here. One thing to blog about is your philosophy, what you think, why you do what you do. So letting people understand why you offer what you offer, why you make the decisions that you make. In this course, we're going to talk a lot about know, like, and trust. And really, sharing your philosophy is one of the know, like, and trust type of topics, right? It helps people know who you are, get to like you because they see your personality, and then get to trust you so that they can buy from you. You can write about you, your team, behind-the-scenes stuff. People love behind-the-scenes stuff of the businesses that they're interested in because, again, this is how we get to know, like, and trust a business. So sharing little pictures from your office or pictures of how you make your products. There's a jewelry company that I like, and she posts pictures of her doing the melting of the gold and shaping the rings, and all that stuff is really interesting to me. It's really boring to her. She does it 100 times a day. But to me, it's really cool because I get to see how the jewelry that I love is made. And people like reading about you, the owner, because they want to make a connection with the owner of the business. They want to feel that affinity towards the owner of a business before they buy. That's what your blog can be really successful in achieving. The next really obvious one is information relevant to your customers. So this is probably what you see on a blog most often, right? On my blog, you might see me write a post about how to do split testing. So that's just very straight up, right? My company teaches about online marketing. People ask us questions about split testing. We write a blog post about split testing. You can also just put other fun stuff that your customers would like to read about. Now, depending on your business, your blog doesn't have to be super focused to the topic of the products or the services you sell. Some businesses, for whatever reason, their customers are not really going to be that interested in their products. Maybe they're really commodity products. Maybe they're boring products. Maybe they are more sensitive or private products in some way that you can't really talk about. Whatever it is for your business, there's other directions that you can go in your blog. I will warn you, don't assume that your business is too boring and your customers don't want to hear about your products. Again, if you make rings, a picture of someone making a ring is really not exciting. So it's sometimes hard to tell what's going to be interesting to our customers because our business seems so mundane and boring to us. But you can also fill up your blog with anything that your customers want to enjoy. Because remember, a big purpose of your blog is just driving those social media links back to your website. So anything that your customers are going to be interested in clicking on and sharing on social media is great fodder for your blog. Lastly, stuff that shows you off as an industry expert. So this is something that I go way more in depth on in my Creating Fame program. But I think that if you're going to have a blog, you might as well use your blog to show off that you are top dog in your industry. So an example of this would be my blog post where I spoke about an award that I won as a top 100 entrepreneur under 30 and some lessons that I had learned in building $1 million business before the age of 30. That really showed me off as a leading expert in my industry. This is a big paradigm shift that I want you to make about blogging. Quality over quantity. So one of the biggest questions, one of the most common questions that people ask is, how often do I blog? I'm going to give you your answer. I would recommend posting once a week, but if you post once a month, that can be okay as well. You are most likely blogging either not at all or way too much. These are kind of the most common categories that I see. And surprisingly, they kind of lead to each other because people often start a blog and they get all excited and they're blogging every day. And then they get super burnt out and they're like, I'm falling behind in my business because I've been writing a blog post every single day. Yeah, you don't have time to write a blog post every single day. And so then they stop blogging altogether. Stick with a more sustainable schedule. I want you to choose a schedule that you can actually do. And I would much rather see you write one amazing post that took you 3 times as long to write than write 3 mediocre posts, right? So it's all about quality over quantity. You're going to see as you get farther through this course, you do not need a ton of blog posts in order to have a really active social media presence and in order to drive a lot of traffic back to your site. I think the reason that a lot of people blog so much is they think, well, I need an excuse to post on social media, so my only excuse is if I have a new post on my blog. That is absolutely false. So 1 post a week, if you can't do 1 post a week, 1 post a month or 2 posts a month is also a totally acceptable blog schedule. Again, I would much rather see you really hunker down, really make something that you're proud of once a month than churn out a lot of mediocre posts that people really aren't going to link to every single day. And quality does not have to mean long. So in a future video, we're going to talk more about how long do your posts need to be in order to get the most shares. But quality means compelling, engaging. It means quality. So if you're sitting here stressed out like, oh no, she told me to post less often, but now I'm going to have to post things that are 30 pages long in order to make up for it, it's absolutely not true. Some really powerful posts can be really, really short. So you've probably heard the saying, measure twice, cut once. So instead of measure twice, cut once, we're going to write once and promote twice. Actually, we're going to promote way more than twice, as you'll see further on in the course. But you don't need a new blog post in order to send out a new update on social media. Your new framework for social media success, your new idea is that you're going to write once, promote twice. So you're going to spend your time writing, but then you have this leverageable piece of content that you can share over and over again. And that's why high quality is so important, because if you write a post that's not very good and you know it's not very good, you're not going to link to it over and over again because it's going to be a waste of time. You're going to link to it, but if the headline's no good and no one clicks on it, or if no one shares it because it's not a very good post, like no one shares posts that they don't like, you know? Something that I want you to do as part of this process of going through this course is really start to notice your own social media behavior when you're just using social media for fun. So forget about the stuff you do for work. When you're on Facebook or you're on Twitter or you're on Pinterest, look at the stuff that you feel compelled to link out to your family and friends. You're never going to link to a post that you didn't think was very good. I mean, unless you're just like, that's why you're linking it. Wow, this is the worst post I've ever read. Check this out. Which is obviously not why we want other people sharing our blog posts, right? So that's why focusing on fewer, higher quality posts gives us this ability that we feel confident to share it over and over again, and also others share it over and over again. I want you to bake social right into your blogging process. So this is another thing we have in the planning tools section. You will see a blog post template that we use at our company. And in that template, you'll see how you can bake social in as you're writing the post. Because it's much, much easier to pull some of the social content while you're writing than it is to go back and pull it later. And I'm kind of alluding to stuff that's going to make more sense once you've watched all the videos, but because we're talking about your blogging process right now, I wanted to go ahead and mention this. So if you ever write more than one headline for your article, which you should, and you're probably going to start doing after you see this next video, you can use your discarded headlines as social media status updates, right? Because really a headline is just another way to talk about your post. So you can post your other headlines to Twitter or to Facebook, and now you have a bunch of different ways to talk about the post that you already wrote. Pull interesting quotes that could be social media updates, or pull interesting quotes, and they're actually called pull quotes, those little snippets that you pull out from your article. Pull those as you go. It's really easy when you're writing to just bold or highlight something where you think, oh, this would be a great standalone social media update. So again, check out the Brilliant blog post breakdown worksheet. That's what has all the information on exactly how to do this. So we're going to wrap up with the idea of an editorial calendar. Stop planning for failure by not planning ahead. So you might have heard me talk about editorial calendar before. I think it's one of the simplest and most important ideas for social media success, blogging success, online marketing success. So many of us, when it comes to our marketing, and especially when it comes to writing our blog, go into panic mode. We've decided on a schedule. Maybe we decide that we're going to write every Monday, but then Monday morning comes and it's like, oh my God, I have to write a blog post today. What am I going to write about? I don't have time. I can't do this. I mean, that's assuming that you have a schedule. Even worse is just kind of thinking that maybe every so often you're going to remember to write a blog post and kind of hoping that that will happen. But you know that you have to update your blog. What's so funny is it's sort of as though we're acting really surprised by the fact that we have a blog that's going to need to be updated. You know, it's as though the people that run Good Morning America, it's like them coming into work every morning at 4 a.m. or whenever they come in and being like, what, we have to do another show today? What are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? What segments are we going to do? Oh, another show? That's what you're doing with your blog. You're like, oh no, another blog? But you know you need to update your blog, right? So just like the Good Morning America producers do not come in that morning and wonder what they're going to talk about that day, you are going to establish an editorial calendar to plan ahead of time what you're going to blog about. This makes it so much easier that it's going to blow your mind. This is one of those ideas that I talk about a lot and not that many people do. I think it sounds way more intimidating than it is, but the people who do it are like, that made my life so much easier. It's so amazing. So editorial calendar is really just a fancy way to say make a plan. And again, we have a great tool for you in the planning tools section where you can actually plot out. We have a whole year-long calendar where you can plot out all your blog posts, make it really easy. So it's really just a fancy way to say make a plan for your blog. So if you were to write out 12 blog post topics and plot them on dates, well, if you're on that weekly schedule, you've just made your calendar for the next quarter. All you have to do is come up with 12 ideas on stuff that people might want to read about, that your customers might want to read about. Again, check this out in the tools section. We have a whole thing walking you through how you can come up with those ideas. All you need is 12 ideas. Put them on the calendar, and now you have an entire quarter plotted out exactly what you're going to talk about. So screen your topics and stick to your calendar. So important not just to make the calendar, but actually to use the calendar. And remember, we're focusing on quality over quantity. And that's really important in the calendar too, because you have to feel good about the topics that you're writing. So we do this in our company. We do it a quarter at a time. We plan out quarter by quarter what we're going to talk about in the next quarter on our blog. And we look through that and we see, okay, do we feel really good that our audience is going to love all of the blog posts on this calendar? And then once we feel good about it, it makes it really easy to get them written. Even if you're sitting down and writing the same day that it goes live, if you know what you're talking about, that's half the battle. Most of the time we waste trying to blog is trying to figure out what to write about. So if someone tells you something to talk about, because we're talking about your business, right? A lot of these posts are just going to be things that you talk about all the time in your business anyway. So when someone just says, okay, write a few paragraphs about something that you know a lot about, that's a much, much easier task to take on. So let's put it all together before we go on to the next video. Blogging is the cornerstone of social media. Without blog posts, people do not have a way to share your website. You need to give them something to share. They're not sharing your contact page. They will share your blog posts. People are able to know, like, and trust you through reading your blog. Quality over quantity. Write fewer, higher quality blog posts that will actually get shared and that you will feel good sharing over and over again because you know they're great stuff. And finally, plan it out on your editorial calendar. So I'll see you in the next video.